arrange our things. We can start announcing to everywhere. That'd be nice. Let's see the chat. Right. I think I found it. Okay, cool. All right. We are live right now, and as we are still sorting out a couple of things on the logistic side, ensuring that the internet connection is good and that we have everything in place. We are also waiting for a couple of friends to also join us here as well. So if you are already here with us, do say hi so that we can say hi to you as well. And we just want to enjoy this evening and have a conversation. Today's conversation would be on the positive side of things, right? That's why it's a positive psychology. And we're also going to touch base about well-being. So that's very important. I think we are in the age where everything else is just on the highs. Our emotions are high. Some people's panic are still high, and uncertainties are at an all-time high as well. So it's always good to know how we can actually deal with that. And this particular session is made for you. Right. So we are right now at 7 p.m. Right, great. Hello, everyone. For those of you who just joined in, do say hi so that we can also recognize you, and we can say hello to you as well. Siti Zulaika was actually saying hey. So she says hi, Jeffro. Hi, Joy.
Hi.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so if you're here with us, do give this a like. We'll be sharing a lot of things on the positive psychology, and I know some questions that you may have. I can actually help you to answer. Put them in the comments if you're already with us, or just say hi to us, and then we'll get going as well. Today, I'm really pumped up because I have a special guest here. She's Joy Leng, and she is a practitioner of positive leadership, right? And she's a coach, and she's a founder of the She Network. So if you're wondering what She Network is, I'll leave Joy to explain the whole thing. But it's an empowering network for not just women but also men, right? So I'll get that into that. For those of you who have just joined us again, just say hi to us. We'd love to recognize all of you here. We have Wesley and Desmond saying hi as well. Joy, you want to say hi to them too?
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us.
All right. So yes, very excited for this session. Yeah. Right. So Joy, we were just having a little chat earlier, and just want to have the guests know a little bit more about you. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Joy Leng. I'm from Singapore. I'm a positive leadership coach. So what I do is I use strengths development, positive psychology tools to empower leaders and their employees to nurture their personal and business growth so that you can maximize engagement and performance.
All right. Very sweet. Very short introduction. Very nice as well. And how have you been doing? I mean, as in, what day has it been since the MCO started? I think it's like day 44, 45 or something like that. I lost count. But
I'm
how
not
have
sure
you
why
been
you're even counting in the first place.
I guess people like numbers as well. I do like sometimes counting along. But how have you been, throughout this MCO? What are the things that you've experienced in terms of change, and maybe you can share a little bit on that?
Sure. I think in the beginning, MCO, of course, everyone is filled with, question marks. We are having more questions than answers at the moment, and everyone having anxiety and fear. So no difference for me. So in the beginning, I was like more concerned of also work-wise, because we have so much plans. Like I have my previews, my workshops. I'm like, gosh, well, what do we do now? So I had all these ideas about, okay, let's do this and that for online, but actually the background was a lot of doubt, because I'm not sure how to do this how to cope in this new situation. Mm-hmm. So, but what I didn't realize in the beginning was I had all this fear and anxiety that I was suppressing through action. So I just keep doing things because I didn't know how to manage all this anxiety. So actually it did in the beginning, it didn't really land well. I think at some point I kind of have a small meltdown. But the good thing that came out of it was that that was when I realized that I had all this fear and anxiety that I was not recognizing. I was not acknowledging. I was not labeling them because I keep suppressing it. I keep saying, no, I can do this, because, your self-image always, um, sometimes the self-image makes you put expectation on yourself and you don't acknowledge reality. You just try to match the expectation you have about yourself. So I really learned it the hard way. So after that meltdown, all that realization about what's going on and able to label my emotion. So it was at a point that it was actually a blessing in disguise. It was a huge moment for me. That was only like the first week of MCO. I already had meltdown already. How's that? So, but then that was like so good, and it was really a gift actually, because after that, it occurred to me. I'm basically quite a strong-willed person. I lived on my own since I was late teen. So I've always been very independent, and I'm a very action-driven person. If I say I'll do something, I'll go all out, as you would have seen. Yeah, there's no in between for me. Either I do or I don't. So it made me think like, oh my gosh, like someone like me, like a strong will also kind of fall apart because of MCO. I dare not imagine what about other people, right? Because not everyone is, like independent and strong-willed. So that got me really concerned. It was a bit of a wake-up call for me. I was like, wow, and I learned positive psychology. I think it's time for me to take seriously my social responsibility based on whatever skills and abilities I have. So that was actually how the Be Well series, if you're familiar, I have this Be Well series. There's Super Monday, Resilient Wednesday, and Self-Care Friday. It really all came from that meltdown, because then it was really imprinted on me. My gosh, like this is serious. Like it really hit me. This is a pandemic. I'm falling apart. I cannot imagine how other people who have no, PP knowledge and all that, or who have no psychotherapeutic tools and techniques readily available, what are they going to do? So that was when I think the meltdown set that conviction in my heart that I need to do this, So that started the whole Be Well series. So since then, I think it's like really what goes around comes around, because of I need to prepare. I need to research for my Facebook Live podcast and all that. I'm learning as well, right? I also learn I might be PP trained, doesn't mean I know everything and I know it in depth. I don't. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I learn and I get reminded of things that I already know. And then it also influenced me in my own behavior in daily life. Like, for example, I started taking exercise seriously. Before that, I was like, oh, I got time, I do. No time, don't do. I've been exercising every day for 1.5 months now. Yeah, so I am benefiting from my own Be Well series, and that's kind of really nice. And it gave me a sense of purpose as well, and to give the skills to other people, because really this is a time when we need to be as self-reliant as possible. Social connection is very important, especially the physical distancing. I think it's important for people to know physical distancing does not equate to social distancing. It is not the same thing. So I have to stress that. So social connection is important, but I think also tapping on what's already within yourself, find out more about what you have that you're not using. It's really important in a time like this. So, and to learn, self-care technique, because not everyone can afford a therapist or a counselor, and even if you can, maybe one session, but continually, like right now, everyone's very conscious of cost and expenses. So because of all this realization and my own personal experience, that started the Be Well series. And thanks to the Be Well series, I feel as if like me as a person individually, I'm flourishing as well. So it's like, yeah, everybody wins.
Yeah, wow, fantastic, and thank you for sharing. I've definitely seen the Be Well series, and really, I'm amazed because there's just so much content that you're putting out, so much values that you're helping others as well. And I know this one thing for sure. Before this, you have not gone like Facebook Live. That was not in your plans
like,
so fast, right?
Makes me so uncomfortable, yeah.
And And I'm amazed because it's not just once a week, twice a week. It's like literally so many times a week, 3, 4
Yeah.
times, sometimes even every
Yeah.
day. I do see there's some contents popping up,
Yes.
and that's amazing. And I love to continue on this. We do have a couple of people saying hello as well. Brian who says hello, Kevin says hello.
Who's Kevin?
Oh. And for those of you here who have just joined us, please, say hi in the comment section, and we would love to recognize you and appreciate you for being here with us. Again, this is a Saturday evening, and most of us here could just lie back and do that. But then again, I think that's almost everyday life, anyways. But since you are here with us and you chose to log in here with us, we want to recognize you. So just do say hi so that we can also say hello back to you and give you a shout out as well. And yeah, so we do have a few people. Julius actually put it in. Number 1, positive mind. Number 2, positive actions. Number 3, positive life. Wow.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
Beautiful. 1, 2, 3. All right. And thank you so much, Julius, for that. One thing as well is I want to actually say this that you mentioned, Joy, you mentioned that you exercise every single day, like without a
Yes.
miss.
I missed one day, but I missed just one day 2 weeks ago, and that one day got me a bit upset. But it just didn't fit. We had no water that day, and I couldn't shower and all that, and I had Facebook Live, so somehow, yeah. So yeah, that one day I was like so upset, so it was quite funny. But other than that, yes, every day, like even yesterday, we started Strengthathon. Strengthathon is by the hour, right? So it's this insane project I did. So we started from 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And 9 p.m., I'm like, I died already, right? So I was like, oh my God, I haven't exercised today. I was like, I really can't. Because I know you can. So I went and I did it. After that, like 7 Facebook Live, like so insane. Yeah. So I'm like, no, I must do it.
Wow. Okay. So I'm very curious right here, because coming up with one Facebook Live is already a lot of effort. Now coming up with, like you mentioned, 7. Wow, how do you get yourself into doing that? Some of
Okay.
our audiences would not even dare to do one.
Yeah, and remember, I would never do Facebook Live like two months ago. Yeah, so it's because the Strengthathon content, most of it doesn't really come from me. It comes from Capfinity. Capfinity is the center where you do your strengths profile. So it's more of like me collating all the content, like from the strengths profile book and some of the stuff on your website. It's more like facilitation work when it comes to Strengthathon, because these are what they give out. So I'm just telling you what they are telling us based on your different strengths. These are their recommendation. So in this sense, Strengthathon wise, I'm more like the facilitator and the one that disseminate the information. So because it's not original content, so I'm able to do that, but it is still a lot of work. It's still quite tedious, but because the whole month of April, they gave the basic strengths assessment for free, and I've been pushing it. I've been asking people to do it. So actually, like 22 over 1,000 people in the world did the free strengths assessment in the month of April.
Oh,
So
that's a lot.
yes, so it was very satisfying for me to know that we contributed to that, right? To people finding out about their strength. So, but then I feel like when I first did my strengths profile, I was overwhelmed because 4 quadrant are very profound. Wow, like it's not 1 to 10, which is very straightforward. It has quadrant, different quadrant means different thing, and then there's relationship between the quadrant. And I'm like intellectual. Most of my strengths are strengths of the mind. Even I was overwhelmed. I was like, what is this? So I remember my experience being overwhelmed with the strengths profile. So now that people have done it, I was like putting myself in people's shoes. So what can we do next? Next is you want to understand, isn't it? What you have just received, this report. What does it mean? How can I apply it? So that was when I realized I need to support people's next step, which is now you need to zoom in on all these strengths that is featured in your profile, know what it means, get intimate with it, and then try to take action with it. So that was when the birth of Strengthathon idea came. I thought it was crazy to do by the hour, but the thing is, for strengths profile, is the only strengths assessment that has the most strengths, 60. So if I do it once a week, that's 60 week, right? So I was thinking, I can't do this once a week because it's 60 strengths. So I thought, okay, why don't I just like take a deep breath and just do it for 2 weeks? But we do it by the hour. So it's a crazy idea, but we are doing it because it's 60 strength. If not, by the time you wait for me to reach maybe that particular strength that you want to know about, maybe it's 60 weeks later, right? So it doesn't make sense, right? So I want to help you now. Yeah. So hence the crazy idea of doing it by the hour, so that in 1.5 weeks time, I would have shown you all 60 strengths. You can zoom in on which are your strengths, just zoom into those videos, and then there's no excuse for you not to do anything. You cannot say you don't know, because my gosh, there's 60 videos out there to support you. So I kind of take the social responsibility, and the fact that I started this, I want to continue to support. I take it quite seriously. So, it's our business, but also, it's I think this is a time where we all need to step up on supporting one another, and I'm doing it using my strength and what I specialize in, which is strengths.
Well, for those of you here in our audience, are you aware of what strengths that you have, right? That I think it's very important. If you know what your strengths is, you can basically tap into that potential. And what I spoke with Joy much earlier, even before this session, is if you know that strength, you can turn it into a super strength, and that becomes your superpower, right? For those of you who are not aware of this, we'll talk more about this later. Our main biggest question right now, and a couple of things, even for myself, prior to this session, is wanted to know what is positive psychology. I mean, if Joy could give us a little bit of background on what positive psychology is.
The funny thing about positive psychology is when people first hear it, that I can see the expression on their face. Most of the time, people will just go blank, right? Huh? What's that? Right? Maybe psychology not positive, so it's quite intense. But it can be quite frustrating for me too, right? Because like you can't even get to the front door, the first door. Right? So the thing is, positive psychology, just to put it in short, is the scientific study of human flourishing. What makes us flourish? What, in layman's term, what makes up a good life, right? The positive aspect of the human experience of what makes life worth living. So we study that. That's what positive psychology is about. Why it has this sort of peculiar term to it, positive psychology, is because for the most part, in the psychology world, we spend a lot of our time in the past examining what's wrong with us, what's wrong with humans, right? The trauma and stuff. And it's actually because of history. We have all these world wars, people come back with PTSD. We needed to study, we needed to treat people, we needed to help people to get back from minus to zero. Because of that, psychology, for most part, examine what's wrong with humans and how to get them back to zero. So, but then the father of positive psychology, Dr. Martin Seligman, he came to a point when he asked himself this question: why are we so fixated with what's wrong with humans? Because he is also a psychotherapist, and he spent many years just listening to people talking to him about his problems. So he had this thought in his head, and he said, but there's also so much great things about humans, right? We do kind things, we do amazing things, we are resilient, and so on and so forth. But how come we don't study these things about humans? How come we don't study what makes people happy? What makes happy people happy, right? What makes successful people successful? What makes resilient people resilient? Why are we not? Why do we have so little data on all these positive traits? So he started this whole thing and gave birth to what he calls positive psychology. So now I think we have a more balanced view. We have more like both sides of the coin. Positive psychology is, of course, a very new science. It's only like maybe 2 decades old, but it's exciting, and exactly because it's new. Because whatever is new, that means we're being very aggressive about it because we're new, right? We're always trying to prove our worth. So now we have a more balanced view of human, like well, what's wrong with human, what's great about human too. So that's what positive psychology is about. Just to share why I decided to specialize in positive psychology. So I didn't know it, I didn't even know it exists. Like even a few years ago, I'm like, what is positive psychology? Then I accidentally found out about it when I did my psychotherapy diploma. and there was this compulsory module. So it has 3 modules, which is hypnotherapy, solution focus, and um, uh, solution focus, and CBT, cognitive behavior. But there was this kind of bridging module, compulsory module called Introduction to Positive Psychology. I had no idea what the heck it was. I just knew that it was compulsory, you have to attend. So I'm like, whatever. I dragged my feet there. I was like, just get it over and done with, because my 3 modules were done. This was the only thing that is stopping me from getting my cert. So I did it. There was like a 10 weeks or 8 weeks course. And here is a shout out to my positive psych lecturer, Tara. Thank you, Tara. You did such an excellent job. You got me so fascinated with positive psychology. I started reading on my own Martin Seligman's book because some things really struck me. And I was like, yeah, why are we so fixated with the negative part? It really like made me think. And then I think one of the things that got me sold was the concept of post-traumatic growth. We're also fixated with PTSD, right? And even any layman knows what it means. It's how famous that term is, right? PTSD. But no one has ever, not till I attended the positive psychology module, I've never heard of post-traumatic growth in my whole life, right? And I've always been very into motivational stuff. I've never heard of that term before. So I got so intrigued. I started reading Martin Seligman's book, Flourish. And you talk about post-traumatic growth. It's like, yes, people get traumatized after going through a crisis or a difficult time. But people also is capable of experiencing growth after a difficult time. And he termed it as post-traumatic growth, where people are willing to take the lessons from the trauma and to grow, and then to live life from a different space from the lessons that is gleaned from the trauma. And that's called post-traumatic growth. So yes, we have PTSD, but we also have we call PDG, right? So that was when my eyes opened. I was like, yeah, and I got very excited. And I was like, that time I was a life coach, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was looking for. Because before that, what you teach is a little bit like what I call the Guru Sophie. You must do this because Anthony Robbins did this, and because we didn't know anything else better, right? You have to do this because that's what Robert Kiyosaki said. You have to do it, right? So we just do all this guru stuff, but there's no science behind it. What works for Anthony Robbins, great, but doesn't necessarily means that it works for us, because everyone's different at the end of the day. So when I realized, positive psychology was research-based, and the whole point is to create, and it's a research-based and it's practical. There's tools and techniques that you can apply. I was sold. I was like, that's exactly the thing that I've been looking for as a life coach, but I couldn't put a finger to it. So when I accidentally bumped into positive psychology, I was like, that's it. That was the missing piece in my jigsaw puzzle. And after all the reading, because you remember when I first went to attend a module, my attitude was like, just get it over and done with. I want my cert, right? And I went from that attitude to pure excitement, right? Like I could feel my life is about to change. After I read all the books by Martin Seligman, I was sold, right? This makes sense to me. It's research-based, it's practical. What else do you need, right? I was like, that's it. So from that point onward, I told myself, this is it. I'm going to specialize in this. I've never looked back since.
Wow. Very profound. I mean, as in, it all started with, I don't think this is going to work out and all that. And that's something that I want to actually throw back to the audience here. Have you had a moment where you didn't think it's going to work out, or you didn't think it was for you completely, and the moment you start dabbling inside, maybe a day or two, a week, and then you found yourself liking it so much that eventually you pursue something in that, maybe an interest, hobby, or maybe it became a passion of yours. If that is something that resonates with you, please type in the comments yes, so that we know you feel the same way as well, right? So that we also can connect together. And meanwhile, waiting for that, just want to give a shout out. Julius was actually writing a couple of things. He said, do not be afraid to be vulnerable in sharing one's self. Being vulnerable is authentic. Being authentic is our strength. Woo! Very profound. Thank you, Julius, for sharing that.
Authenticity is actually one of the 60 strengths in Strengths Profile. So he is right on the money.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And yes, we do have quite a few. And All right. So when we talk about what positive psychology is, why you got started. So what is the difference between positive psychology and positive thinking? Like I know the one word difference, and for those of you who are live, don't judge me, but I really it took me a while to really wrap my head around what is positive psychology versus positive uh, thinking. So now we have Joy here. Maybe Joy, you can share a little bit with us.
Positive thinking is more like a cognitive function. It's an attitude that you adopt, right? And it's like you expect good and favorable outcome, right? So, however, my question to you is whether you're going to make any effort towards that expected positive outcome depends on the individual. Right? So you can have positive attitude, yeah, I'll be positive about this, but then you do nothing. What happens versus someone else is like, I'm going to be positive about it and I'm going to do this, this, and that. What's going to happen, right? That's the difference. Always the action, that's the difference. So you can have positive attitude and do nothing, then you just praying for a miracle, basically, right? So,
Yes.
so positive psychology, okay, firstly, positive thinking is more about like the thinking part, right? So again, like I said, action, questionable. Positive psychology is not just about the thinking, it's basically about what makes life satisfying for us, right? So it touches on what you think, your behavior, your attitudes, your mindset, your action. So it's like a more holistic, comprehensive way. And also positive psychology would tell you what are the tools and techniques you can do, right? So that's action there. So I think that's the missing component with positive thinking. You cannot just think about it. You have to do something, right? So I think that's the big difference. Yes, and the other thing that I want to highlight is there is this myth about positive psychology. Oh, it's positive thinking lah. Like so, they will just associate, like they just lump everything together. Same lah, right? It's not the same. Okay, so it's not the same because first, back to research. Second, practical. Right? Thinking is thinking, right? So thinking is like the first step, but is that the first step and only step you take, or the first step and then and then there's other steps that you're gonna take? So that's the difference.
All right. So if I put it in other ways, it's like if you want a jackpot, if you want to win a jackpot, but you don't go and buy that lottery ticket for yourself, right? That's just positive thinking. I want to hit a jackpot. I'm going to be a millionaire if I ever strike the lottery. But the fact is, if you don't even buy that lottery ticket itself, then you're winning nothing.
Yeah, it takes effort. You need to get changed, get out of the house, drive the car, queue up. I'm sure there's a queue. You're not the only one with that jackpot dream, right? Then take out the wallet, take out the money. Like it takes effort to even buy that ticket. But if you're like, no, I will strike. Like strike what? You don't even have the ticket. No action.
Okay, so now let's go a little bit deeper because you do mention that there are step-to-step things, research back as well to create a positive experience. And this is where I want to also find out how does one sort of apply positive psychology in our day-to-day lives. And I want to know if there's any specific things that you can actually share with us.
Well, positive psychology is really very broad and very wide. It covers topics like, life satisfaction, happiness, well-being, mindfulness, growth mindset, strengths, emotional intelligence. It's really like a lot. It's the science of what makes us happy. All of these things contribute. Yep. They are contributed. So it's really very broad. What I can share is this well-being model, which is created by the founder of positive psychology called PERMA. PERMA. So I think maybe that's easy for you to grasp your mind around it because it has an acronym as well. So PERMA is 5 components. It represents positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning, and achievement. So research have shown that these are the 5 areas where help people to flourish. So positive emotion, engagement, relationship, meaning, and achievement. How much of it depends on the individual. Like for example, some people need a lot of achievements to feel happy. Some people don't, right? And again, achievement looks different for different people. Some people, achievement means work. But for some other people, achievement could be saving the tigers, right? So again, achievement looks different for everyone, but still, it's a very useful framework to wrap your head around what works for you. So positive emotion, without saying, obviously, like positive emotion is important because um, we all feel good, right? And we feel good. The body also generates the endorphins and so on. So it's like an all-win. Even in a workplace, you want to have as much positive emotions as possible in your employees. So you also want to, like, say, have some what we call positive psychology intervention, PPI for short. You intervene doing an exercise or activity. The purpose is to infuse positive psychology in an environment. So
Mm.
for PPI, for workplace, for example, let's say in a meeting, you can there's some companies that do like list appreciation as one of the agenda, the first agenda in any meeting, meaning that you start off your meeting in a positive note, right? Where in appreciation, you are welcome to highlight and publicly acknowledge a colleague for doing something that supported you, that
Right.
helped you, right? So you start off the meeting in a high note. It's really as simple as that, right? And people like to be acknowledged, right? When people feel empowered, and even if you are not the one on the receiving end, you get energized by the positive vibes that's given in the meeting, right? So it's very simple thing like that, right? Which we also have another term for it. We call nudging people in a certain direction, encouraging people to exhibit certain behavior. So this is like a positive nudging. So you can do that even in a family as well. Like
Mhm.
like in my Facebook Live, I encourage people to paste a feeling wheel on the fridge. We paste a feeling wheel on the fridge because when you think about it, well, especially in the Asian context, when you ask about how you feeling, okay, okay means what? I feel good. Good means what, right? So we that's our range of feelings is okay, good, sad, angry, happy, and that's like pretty much it, right? But there's so many feelings words, but because it's not in our culture and we are not taught that, in school, we don't really have in terms of emotional intelligence. Um, it's limited in some ways. So when you have a feeling wheel, the feeling wheel has three circles, right? Inner, the middle, and the outer circle. So the inner circle basically are the words that we normally use: sad, angry. You know, the goal is to spot a word that is closest to what you feel in the inner circle, and then expand out. Pick a word from the outermost circle. So that way, slowly you grow your feelings vocabulary, and that is important information for yourself and for other people, right? When you say good versus you say you feel delighted, different information, right? You're like, oh, you feel delighted. Good means what? I don't know. You feel positive, something, right? So you want to increase connection. Feelings, the word that you use is helpful. So I encourage people to place a feeling wheel on the fridge where the parents can use that as a daily check-in, especially now with MCO, CB, whatever going on. Want to check in on your family, everybody can just look at the wheel and pick a word. How are you feeling right now? So then that will give the parents a clue in terms of the children's well-being right now. Oh, he's feeling lost, or you have a better idea what's in the inner landscape of your child versus okay lor, okay, what there's no information for the parent. It's not helpful at all. So to basically pay attention to emotion, um, increase your range of feelings vocabulary, and try to so research have shown that the ideal ratio is 3:1.
Mm.
So that's a useful thing to think about. That means you want to have, for every negative emotion you have, it's recommended you should have 3 positive emotion. So that will keep your well-being, your mental state in a good level. Of course, you want the ratio to be higher if it's possible. But having said that, I also want to give a disclaimer. Um, you cannot, because of that, deliberately make yourself happy when you don't feel happy, right? So um,
Yes.
you want to acknowledge your negative emotions in the first place. There's no such thing as positive and good or bad feelings are just feelings. we
Yes.
we we put those label on that. Feelings are our inner wisdom counsel, and you need to respect your feeling. If you're feeling angry, for example, the negative emotion, angry suggests that there's some you perceive there is some form of violation of rights. So who are you angry with? Let's say you're angry with other people. You feel that there's some sort of violation of rights by other people, right? But if you're angry at yourself, that means you feel some violation of rights that you committed either towards yourself or towards other people. You see the amount of information there, and you need to address it. Feeling all this feeling is telling you, oh, you need to do something about it. So don't force the ratio, don't artificially make it. Be real about it. It's just a guideline. Like for every negative emotion you have, try to have 3, right? But then at the same time, be very gentle with yourself. If you're feeling bad emotion, it's okay. Just label it and then acknowledge it, and then see, okay, what should I do about it? What is the need that I need to attend to? What is the feeling telling me to do, so that I can go back to a even keel in terms of my emotional well-being. So that's the P in a PERMA model. Then engagement, that's where my favorite topic come in. Strength. The way to engage is to use your strength, because when you use your strength, you're just very naturally energized. The quality of our strengths is that it doesn't really tire us. We enjoy doing it and we're very good at it. That's why it's our strength. So you want to tap on your strength to engage in not just in work, but also in your family life. What is your strength? Go around using your strength instead of trying to do because everybody do it like that, so I do it like this. Why? You can do it using your strength. They don't have your superpowers. You have your superpowers, but what are you doing about it? So engagement is engaging people with their strengths. Same for bosses to take note. You want to know what are the strengths of your employees, and then you want to engage them from their strength. Then you will ask them to do something, they will do, because they're like, oh, good, then I can do this. I know I'm good at it. Versus, because most of the time, bosses does things the other way around. This is what I need you to do. Do this. But then the person might be like, I don't like doing that. But if you know what's the person's strength and you engage the person's strength and say, hey, I know that you are good at this. This is your strength. So that's why I'm asking you to do this. It's a very different conversation, because people like to be acknowledged, firstly. Second, people like to use their strength. You don't have to force them to do it. They enjoy it. It's just part of the quality of using strength. R is relationship. Like research have already shown, this very famous Harvard study is the longest study ever on what makes people happy. The number one thing is relationship. So it's very clear, and also evolution has wired us for survival. We survive for so long as a species is because we are excellent collaborator. You cannot collaborate if there is no relationship, if there is no connection. So the fact that we survive so long is because it already suggests that we are very good at collaborating, we're very good at connecting with people. And also because Mother Nature created that in us also, there is such a thing called mirror neurons, meaning that if I see you laugh, I also feel like laughing, and there's funny videos about it where everybody experiment also. Someone just laugh and someone is watching, have no idea what the person is laughing, and then they started laughing, then the whole room started laughing, and nobody has any idea what that one person is laughing about.
I saw that video. Yes, very, very powerful. Mirroring is something that is there's a very profound effect on people as well. And for those of you, if you really want to try, go and just do it. Try and laugh in a meeting. Try and laugh at someone else. Don't laugh at them. Laugh with them, and then you see this immediately transmitted over.
You
plenty
don't
of things.
Do laugh. You can just smile, and 9 out of 10 times the person will automatically smile. We can't help ourselves unless the person is really having a damn bad day lah. Then you smile, the person maybe will growl at you lah. But other than that, 9 out of 10 times if you smile, someone will smile back at you. It's just the way we are. Mother Nature put that in us. So we have this mirror neuron. Take advantage of that. Like even for bosses, and you have seen people say sometimes people are like, what's the weather today in the office? What they're referring to is when the boss walk in, what is the facial expression? That's what they say. It's, today thunderstorm. They're not referring to the weather, they're referring to the boss, right? And then they all start to have like thunderstorm behavior because you want to match your bosses. You may or may not even realize it, right? Because you're going to a meeting with the boss it look like it's in a bad mood. I cannot look too happy. Even though I'm happy, I have to look maybe emotionless, right? Mirror
Mm-hmm.
neuron, right? So we always have this natural urge to imitate others. Why? Because we are wired for connection. So you want to take note of that. Really place emphasis on relationship. Um, that's something that even I have to remind myself, because I know it might be hard to believe, but I'm actually an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. So I can't spend like extended period of time with people without me feeling drained. But then I have to balance it now and I have been balancing ever since I started learning all this from positive psychology and what research has said. You still need to make time for relationship. You cannot be so fixated with the to-do task, the sales figure. At the end of the day, if you want to fulfill all this, it takes humans to accomplish all these goals that you have. So you still need to strive for connection. There's a survey that is done by Virgin Airlines, and it stated that 40% of people in the survey stated that colleagues are the number one reason why they enjoy their work. 40%.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can relate to that. When I was working back in a corporate environment, every single day, the one that really drives me to go there is really just my team, the people that I'm working with, some really supportive superiors as well, and knowing that going there, I'll actually be seeing people who are like-minded, people who are uplifting and supportive as well, just makes me look forward to that. And if
Mm.
on days they are not going to be at office and I don't know who else is going to be there, I tend to not want to go in. I will actually be very reluctant to enter office. Not that I don't show up, but I will just be reluctant to do so.
Exactly. So drawing relevance from that to our today's context, at the risk of sounding naggy, so I'm going to say the same thing. Physical distancing does not equate to social distancing. You must stay connected, use technology to stay connected. Yes, there is like Zoom exhaustion and whatever. You just need to, strike a balance, but you have to stay connected. So a relationship is very important for our well-being. So that's R. Okay. Then we have M. M is meaning. Meaning is, you know, what what's the meaning you have even for work. I know some of us, okay, I don't care, I just work for the salary and so forth, but actually it's not true. There was this Adam Grant is a researcher, and this researcher, he basically did this experiment. He asked this call center staff. There's two group. One group, basically they have to raise funds for a university scholarship. So for those students from low income, so that they can go and do their university and so on, they getting trying to get sponsorship. So the call center has two groups. The control group basically just do what they normally do. The second group, the experimental group, they asked this call center people, they arrange for the staff to meet the beneficiary of the scholarship, the students who benefited, right? The beneficiary. So it was very short one. It's just a 5 minutes chat. So the second group get to meet one beneficiary from the scholarship, and it was just 5 minutes, just enough to see a face, and this is the person's name, ask a few questions, and that's it, right? And then they went back to their work. Guess which team raised more money? The team that did not meet anyone, or the team that met one of the beneficiary? It's the
Ah.
team that met the beneficiary. They raised 3 times more money. Why?
Mm-hmm.
They saw the meaning in what they do.
I
So
I mean, guys at the audience there, are you getting this? Like, sometimes it's not just about the monetary thing. Sometimes it's the way we give meaning to things are very different as well. And I would dare say that every one of us here have a very different meaning to why we do things, and that falls back to your own particular reason, or what are you wrapping around the things that you do. If you can resonate with that, type in the comments, meaning, that whatever we do, how we feel towards it, it's based on the meaning that we have. If we say that things are boring, chances is we're not going to do that, or we do it with a very heavy heart. But if we think that that is really, really good, it's charitable, it carries me, it enlightens me, or it sparks a fire within, it inspires me. That's something that a lot of people would jump onto it. So what is that one thing for you that carries meaning? And if you do resonate with this particular model, meaning itself, type in the comments, meaning, so that we know that you are still here and you're following us. And we want to share more with you that is relevant and something that you can also think about what to do moving forward if you're feeling something else other than the better side to get the results that you want. All right.
So bear in mind that, as I mentioned earlier, the PERMA model, how much meaning, how much relationship, it is different for everyone. Like for me, I know that meaning plays a huge part in my life because my number one realized strength is legacy and number two is mission. So it's all meaning involved. So I know that, and that's a very powerful self-awareness that guides my behavior every day. So it's only because I have that and I know meaning is important that I can do crazy things like Strengthathon on Facebook by the hour, because meaning is important to me and I just focus on that and it gives me life satisfaction. But maybe for some people, meaning might not be so high on the list. You just need it in a small percentage. For some other people, it could be that positive emotion is more important for the person. So it's a bit different for everyone. But this have been known to be important components, contributors to well-being. The last one is achievement. Again, strengths come back into the picture. And by the way, those percentage and numbers that you're seeing behind me, these are the strength statistic. These are the benefits that organizations have because they are strengths-based organization. They focus on using strengths to empower their staff. So achievement again is strengths-based. You achieve obviously using your strength, right? Is the shortest path to achievement. So if you are a leader, you can also consider like you want to ask strengths-based questions to your employees to motivate them. So for example, you can ask them questions about past success story, and maybe actually you want them to do this thing, right? You might ask, have you done something similar like this? Or if you know for a fact they have, start at that point, start at the point of their strength. You did that so well, remember that time? How did you do it? Actually, I'm very curious. Can you share with me? And then the person will talk. Oh, how did you think you managed it? Then the person will highlight certain strengths, right? Or strategies, and the person will start to feel good, positive emotion, relationship, rapport building, right? And you bring the strengths into the forefront. And then you say, you know what, I'm thinking of doing this now. It's a bit similar with that one, right? How do you think you can use those strengths that you used that time and have such a wonderful outcome? How do you think you can tap on those strengths again for this new project or idea that I'm thinking about? I'm thinking that, you were so good that time. I'm thinking of putting you in charge. What do you think? People hire you. Like, oh, okay, I can use what I did then to do it here, right? Rather than you go and then you announce to the person, I'm going to do this and you're in charge. The person will be like, oh, right? Yeah, so you can use people's strength to bring in achievement. So achievement can be individual, can be organization. So the good thing about the PERMA model is so long as you are human, it applies to you. An organization is made up of people, right? So long as you're a person, it applies to you. So PERMA model is helpful for individual, in a family, or even in organizational context. So it doesn't matter. You can use the PERMA model to trigger your thoughts, how to do certain things, how to take care of well-being.
Yeah, and it's so important. Now, before we continue, just want to give a shout out. Xana says hi, and we have Sean GB says hi as well, and of course we have Julius who's been commenting a lot on the site. So a couple of things I just want to shout out. Julius was saying, feeling. We talked about feelings earlier. Feelings are visitors and they come and go. Brilliant way of putting it. Right? And to be angry for 1 minute, you lose 60 seconds of happiness. Somehow I've heard of this quote before.
It's a very common quote, yeah. So when Julia's comment remind me of one of my favorite poem by Rumi. Rumi says, guests in the house, all your feelings are just guests coming to your house, right? You want to welcome all your guests and let them stay as long as they need to. When it's time to leave, your guests will leave. But you don't reject the guest. So which is the same analogy as what I said. Don't reject your anger. Don't reject your grief. To me, my own interpretation is emotions are just messengers of love. right?
Yep.
And they're different messenger. So like when you get a delivery from DHL, right? All the parcel is different, right? Sometimes maybe it's book, sometimes it's cooking pot, whatever, but all the parcel is different. What's inside the box is different, but all the box serve a purpose, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you want to accept all the parcels because they serve different purpose in your life. So feelings are those parcels, so you don't reject. Oh, I only accept this parcel, I reject that one. They're all deliberately, obviously meant for you, attention to your name. It's for you. So you have to receive it and use it. So if it's grief, if it's anger, if it's anxiety, what's in it? What's the message? What is it asking me to address in my life for my well-being? So if it's grief, okay, I'm feeling some sense of loss. I'm feeling some fear about the future. Okay, how can I address this? What's within my control that I can do to make myself feel a little bit better?
Yep.
Besides sitting with the feeling, I'm like, okay, label it. I'm feeling anxious and be okay about it. And then at the same time, what can I do about it? What's within my control, no matter how small the sphere is? What's within my area of influence that I can do something about it? So feelings, especially right now, is a huge thing, which is why I dedicated my Self-Care Friday Facebook Live, addressing different emotions every week. I've addressed anxiety 2 weeks ago. Then last week, I decided to bring in self-hypnosis first because I thought that would be useful to manage the grief, the negative emotion. Yesterday, I talked about grief, so anxiety and grief. So I will be touching on other emotion, negative emotion in other Self-Care Friday. So the intention is, there'll be anger, obviously, anger
Right.
and
Right.
fear. Yeah, so that people understand what's behind it and what you can
Mm-hmm.
do about it. What are the questions you can ask yourself to address the need behind these emotions? Remember, they're all just messengers of love. We just come in
True.
different shapes. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking about feelings, right? So for those of you here with us, I really appreciate that you're taking a time in the evening to really just tune in here and learning a little bit more. And I hope so far it has been insightful. I'm learning a couple of areas. And since we're talking about feelings, it would make me a little bit sad, a little bit disappointed if you're not sharing this out to people. People need to really know about this. People need to understand a little bit more and be educated on what are the things that they can actually do for themselves. In fact, whatever that we mentioned here, because it's so science based, it really is not rocket science. You can actually just take it and go right now. The things that we've mentioned, right? And for those of you who have missed the earlier part, just go through it again, and you will know that this PERMA model it's so applicable, right? The emotions that we can look and tap into, the strengths that we have, and the relationships that we can build, the meanings and the achievement as well. And what will make us happy, what would make us really excited is that you give us a like, give us a heart, and share this out with as many people as you can so that others can also tap into this. And the more people do this, and I believe this, if everyone is happy, the world becomes a happier place. So if you like that, share it with someone else, let someone else be happy so that you can be happy and all of us can be happy.
Hmm. Yeah, so if your audience wants to find out more about the PERMA model, I did an podcast episode on the different models, but special focusing on PERMA model and some coaching questions that you can ask yourself for the PERMA. You can check out Strengths and Joy podcast. I think it's episode 2. It has those coaching questions. Those questions will be useful for you to have more self-awareness, and then from there you can decide what maybe strategies or what things you want to put in place moving forward to take care of your well-being, because now you realize, oh, I didn't realize this was so important to me, right? Maybe you don't realize that, and then now with this new realization you can do things slightly differently to increase your own positivity.
Yep. Very interesting. And we talked about strengths earlier, and I guess some of us here we're like, wow, strengths. Yeah lah, I know lah. Traditional mindset, I only have strengths or weaknesses. I use this or I try to improve that. But what I realized is that there's a little bit more in depth into that. There's like 4 quadrants of it. Maybe Joy, you want to help us walk through. What are the breakdowns of strengths that we can actually utilize and some things that we can choose not to use more of it.
Okay, so I'm going to try and see if I can adjust this so you can see the quadrant.
Oh, there's a chart at the back.
Okay, so that's so cool. We can use this. So at least there's a visual cue might be helpful for you. So you see there's
Okay.
four quadrants there. This is the strengths profile. This is the one of the main strengths assessment tool that I use. I love it because it's comprehensive. So the four quadrants is the realized strength, unrealized strength, learned behavior, and weaknesses. As you have mentioned, most of the time we just talk strengths, weakness, right? Actually, I think this is much better and more powerful because why? For example, there is a difference between realized strength and unrealized strength. There is a difference between realized strength and learned behavior. Weaknesses is of course the bomb lah. Like everybody know what is weaknesses. We're so sensitive about it. Even when I coach, like when it comes to this quadrant, I have to tread carefully when I coach. Right? We all like we don't like to think about our weaknesses. It makes us feel small, and it's very normal reaction, and it's completely okay. However, this is the other exciting thing about the strengths profile quadrant. When you have this quadrant, you don't have to think about your weakness and then get depressed. You can get excited about talking about your weaknesses. Why? Because the quadrant allows you to address your weaknesses, learn how to offset your weaknesses from the lens of strength. And how do you do that? By looking at what's your realized strength, what's your unrealized strength, and if necessary, what's your learned behavior to help you to overcome your weaknesses. It's a very different conversation.
Hmm.
So just to give a quick explanation, I guess by now your audience very curious already. What's all this quadrant and what it means, right? So realized strength is basically things that you perform well in, you love to do, you have high energy, as I mentioned earlier. And at the moment, you have a lot of opportunity to apply it. That's why it's realized because you constantly use it. Then the learned behavior is um, you are good in this areas, this activity, you perform well in it. However, it might not be as energizing as realized strength. These are more like, think of it like your playbox, your toolbox. These are the skills that you have learned throughout your lifetime out of need, necessity, or out of survivor. So you learn to do it well. For example, maybe you don't like cooking, but you're actually a good cook, right? I mean, like no one has suffered because of your cooking. But do you enjoy it? Maybe actually not particularly, right? So then could be that cooking is your learned behavior, not your realized strength. But you see, before this, you have no idea, right? You might think that it's my strength, but there is a distinction between if you don't enjoy it, it's not a strength. Strength energize you, you enjoy it. There is a difference. So that's like your learned behavior. So you want to use it only when necessary because it doesn't energize you. Short term, if you need to use something that's under this quadrant, it's perfectly fine because short term means you're just going to use it for a short period. For long term strategy, you don't want to use too much of your learned behavior. It's not sustainable. So things to think about. Weaknesses is weaknesses. Obviously, we don't perform well in, doesn't energize us. The goal is to minimize using anything from this quadrant at all, if possible. So in terms of organization, you can consider reshape your role to maybe use less of this if it's possible, maybe delegate or maybe have complementary partnership. You partner with someone else who have your weakness as their strength, right? But
Hmm.
if you don't even know what is what, who has what, then you can't even have that conversation. Without that conversation, you can't have the outcome you're looking for, right? So that's how powerful this strength report is. Then of course, unrealized strength, my favorite quadrant, your secret superpower. Yeah, so this is one of the way to kind of tap on what you never have in the past because you didn't even know these superpowers you have. You didn't even know it exists. So how could you have used it? You couldn't. But this is where you get the extra edge that you need right now for well-being and for productivity in a challenging time like this. So these are strengths. So you perform well in, you enjoy it. However, at the moment you have very little opportunity to use it, to tap on it. So so now it sounds all very technical, right? So I shall sacrifice. I'll tell you my profile as for example. So say for example, 6 months ago in December, I did my strengths profile. My number one unrealized strength was writer. So I got very excited when I found out because I've always loved writing. It's something I did since young. I've always wanted to go back to writing. I just don't have the time. So when I realized that my unrealized strength, number one, is writer, that really put that conviction in my heart. I put my foot down. I have to do it. I have to stop thinking about it. And because of that, my Facebook Live, there's some scripting and research, right? So there's a lot of writing going on for the Facebook Live, right? There's a lot of post-production and pre-production and all that. So I got to use a lot of it the last few months, and I was very grateful about it. Of course, research and writing is tiring, but it was a good kind of tired. Right? I was so happy to go back to writing again and get my creative juice up again. So on the last day of April, because it's the last day to do the free strengths assessment, I did it. It was 2 days ago. And my strengths profile has changed. My realized strength, writer is not even the top 7 unrealized anymore. I think because you only get the basic for free, I suspect that it's now in my long list of realized strength. Gone. I couldn't see it. I was so surprised. I was like, gosh. And then guess what became my number one unrealized strength? It became innovation. And I was so shocked. I was like, my gosh, I really realized the number one unrealized strength of writer, which is very exciting because it's where you can compare your strengths with profile. It tells you how much work you have done, not done. And so I completely realized this strength. So it was very exciting. Now I have to scratch my head. I'm like, innovation, how to do this? But it's fun because it gets you creative. So actually that's why the strengthathon. I mean, it's a bit innovative, right? I do not know of anyone doing this crazy thing that we're doing. So now I realize, okay, for the next few months, I'll pay attention to my top unrealized strength. And the number one is innovation. So you can expect more innovative, putting myself to the test now, more innovative things from me the next few months because I want to tap on this quadrant. This is what everybody should do. So imagine if you don't have this strengths report. You have no idea what are your unrealized strengths, obviously, because that's why it's unrealized. You have no idea what is your realized strength versus learned behavior. And you don't know what signs say is your weaknesses, and therefore you can't address it using the lens of strengths because you don't even know what is your weaknesses in the first place. It's a very different you, right? Versus you with the strengths report. You're living life from a different space, right? And where do you want to live? There's no right or wrong, but your core. And it's a very simple thing. I think it's worth the investment. So for the intro profile, you'll see top 7 realized strength, top 7 unrealized strength, top 4 learned behavior, top 3 weaknesses. That's a lot of information already for someone new to strengths profile. And that costs like US $20. I think it's a worthwhile investment on yourself. And if you do it with us, we actually give you a free report, 10 steps guide, 10 steps to how to understand your strengths profile. So you can do that, and you're supposed to retake your assessment every 6 to 12 months and see what has changed. As you can see, what it really make a difference for me to see what has changed. And based on, that US $20, now you can know all this thing and then you know what to do or find out what to do. Then we have Strengthathon. You just zoom in the videos as your strengths and then find out what the coaching question you can ask yourself using a Strengthathon. It's only back to you remember, positive thinking. Are you just thinking about it or is there action, right? So this is the strengths profile in a nutshell. I think that it's powerful self-information right now, especially, look, we're in a pandemic, right? I think the time to show up as your stronger self has never been more urgent. This is, we're going through a crisis right now. So one of the way to do that is to, firstly, work on your weaknesses, because it's stressful enough. The last thing you want is your weaknesses making things worse in the current situation, right? And then secondly, find out what are your unrealized strengths, work hard at it. Then I think life will be way more different than before because you didn't have all this self-awareness.
And that's a really insightful thing about strengths. And for our audience here, like, wow, right? We have already passed the 1 hour mark, and again, it's just amazing how much information is being shared by Joy. And thank you so much for that. But I also want to thank all of you here who are with us, because you've been with us for the past hour. And of course, I know there are some people who just joined in as well. Please say hi, and again, share this out so that more people can get to know what this is and discover the things that can help them, like strengths, like earlier we talked about the PERMA model. What are the areas in the positive psychology that you can really drill down to really help you out, drive yourself to a better state? So that's all amazing and beautiful. But what I want to know is also, from those of you here with us, what are questions that you have, for Joy, in terms of positive psychology, in terms of discovering strengths, in terms of well-being? Is there anything that you would like to know more of? And if you do, please just type it down in the comments, and we'll see and address. We got some little time left, and we want to have this session for you, right? So that you get more value. We help to answer some of your questions, and at the same time, we want to also acknowledge some of you here with us. I think we have Jocelyn who has just joined us. Say hi. And we have actually we do have Kevin who has been summarizing quite a fair bit, and that's amazing. He talked about the lens of strength and the language of strength. Are you seeing your strengths well enough, and are you speaking in the strength, or are you acting in that? That's really, really beautiful. Thank you, Kevin, for doing that for us. Okay, so are there any questions coming from the audience? If you want to know more about how to utilize your own superpower, how to discover all of that, we won't be able to cover everything in strengths. I just want all of you here to know, because you can see it's a really in-depth profile over there, that 4 quadrant, right? If you really want to know and you want help to really discover what are the things that you're super good at, the ones that energize you, what are the things that you are good at but you don't know, what are the things that you should be tapping on and not worked on, then you know who to find Joy, right? You can always connect with her on Facebook, and then she'll really guide you through the other things. She has so much thing to offer, the values, and she published a book. She has podcasts, she has videos taking you step by step of the journey, right, to help you discover the beautiful you, the confident you as well. Julius say, this session is awesome, very energizing and happening. Thank you, Julius. You've been very, very supportive. Thank you. All right. What are some of your strengths, Jeffro? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, you did the profile. I know. I was so curious. Tell me.
Okay. So for me, what happened is I did it, and my top strength is actually unconditionality. Okay, that's a mouthful. So what it actually means, if I'm going to be reading, because I actually took a snapshot much earlier, is that I have the immense capacity to accept things and be indifferent. So regardless of your status, regardless of your background or anything like that, I accept all of that. And that was actually pretty true. And all this while, I actually thought, my top strength was, things like humor and all that. Turns out it's a little bit lower. And that was good, because now I know, wow, this thing has become so much more natural. So yeah, thank you, Kevin, for asking that. Thank you.
So notice your self-perception, the way you perceive yourself shift, right? Because you were saying, oh, I thought I was more like humor. Oh no, it's unconditionality, right? Like I saw for a moment your eye went like, oh, right? So yes. I get it all the time when I retake my strengths profile again. Like the first time I was like, unrealized strength writer, right? And then now yesterday was like, unrealized strength innovation, right? So it's exciting. So the last 2 days, my WhatsApp group been like just bursting with people talking about their strength. It's so excited because I've been asking people to take the free assessment, right? So yeah, you want to get excited about yourself, especially in a time like this, right? Get excited about the areas you should focus on, right, for self-development, because when you grow stronger, everybody grows stronger. It's a together effect, right? And then when you grow stronger, your family, your community, everybody benefit as well. And they'll also be very curious. Oh, there's some change in you. What's going on? Can you share with me? And they can tell people, oh, I've been focusing and working on my strength. And then they get curious. So it's like we need to start with ourselves, right? The change that you want begins with you. And then when people see that, people get curious. They want to do the same.
I agree. Well, Kevin has another follow-up question. good share. What about unrealized strength? Wow, Kevin, you are like trying to dig out everything from me.
He wants to know what's your secret superpower.
All right, so my unrealized strength over here, there's only one that they stated is actually called compassion. Basically, I want the best for everyone. I offer sympathy and support to as many people as I am. I think for me, I didn't know this was a superpower as well. So this was actually very enlightening to know. So that was a great experience, and the report itself that you would get is actually quite in depth. It's not like a full blown 300 plus pages, but it's more than enough for you to have an insight of what you can leverage on and what you can start building on, and how you can actually turn even the bad ones into a good ones. So yeah, I highly suggest, if you do have the time, which I think some of us here actually do have, to go and explore that and connect with Joy so that you get help as well as the support that is needed to really go through this journey of discovering your own strength. And yeah, so hopefully we don't have any other question. Kevin said, I am well trained by Joy. Okay. Now again, we've already passed the 1 hour plus mark, and I know this is as a weekend may not be applicable for some of us here, especially you and I. There's not much of a difference, but also just to ensure that everyone else is okay. If there's no further question, what we'll do is we want to wrap it up. And just before I wrap up, I just want to share with you an ebook that I've actually curated. And we're talking about positive psychology, we're talking about the emotions as well, and the well-being. And if you're curious on how you can actually help someone else feel better, it's not just action. Sometimes it's not what we do for others, but it's what we say to others, how we say it, that really gives the impact. And in my ebook itself, I actually curated 14 powerful phrases that you can actually start from home and at work to help people come up with conversations, give you ideas. Now, the whole idea is to inspire, impact, and influence them in a very positive manner. So it goes hand in hand. If you're looking into positive psychology or even positive thinking, this would really definitely help you on that. So please, Kevin saying what we can. If you want a copy of that ebook, just type more and I will reach out to you and I'll provide you that ebook itself. And if you need help in using that, I'll be more than happy to actually do that with you. So if you do want a copy of that ebook, just type more and I will send it to you. Right? If there are no other further questions, then I guess we can actually wrap up this session. Oh, very quick one. Julius was just saying, threefold happens when a person shares on strengths. Number one, he reinforces his own strengths. Number two, he helps others gain strengths. Number three, the community reinforces their strengths. Wow, profound.
Okay, Julius, you're hired. You can be our strengths manager.
I think, Julius, you really have to connect with Joy. I think both of you have such a great connection here. Go do that. Go do that. All right. So, anyways, we are already at the end of the segment. Joy, do you have any other words of advices to encourage our audience here?
Really, I'm just going to be shameless and say, come to my page. I have so many resources for you and they're all free. Do yourself a big favor and come join us on our Facebook Live. We have Super Monday. We talk about everything about strengths, how to develop your strength. A Resilient Wednesday, we teach you tools and techniques about how to, be more resilient. Self-Care Friday, we tell you tools and techniques that's based on psychotherapy, simple things that you can do to take care of yourself. So it's like full of very valuable information right now. It's called the Be Well series. So it wasn't like a random thing that we did. Everything was thought out with, well thought out. And I keep asking myself, what do people need right now? What do people need right now? And that's how we came up with strengths, resilience, and self-care. So, please tap on all these free resources that we have. We have the podcast, Strengths and Joy podcast. We have our Strengths and Joy podcast Facebook group. It's a private. If you're too shy to share, during Facebook Live, you can go to the Facebook group, share what you're struggling, what have you learned, what is your inspired action. Sometimes we need some level of accountability. You can share in a group and say, this is what I'm going to do, right? And then we can hold you accountable for what you've said. So the Facebook group is meant to be a safe place for you to, take care of yourself and apply action. So many resources, and we have the strengthathon. Like I share one strength every hour for the whole of next week and until the next Wednesday. So do your strengths profile, invest in yourself in that $20, then come and use all this free resource. There's no excuse with the depth of content that I'm giving out there. There's no excuse for you not to work on yourself, take care of yourself, take responsibility for your own well-being of your family. The great thing is when you do all of this, tap on all these free resources, you can then share your learnings with your family members and teach them how to do the same for themselves, take care of their well-being. So all these skills and knowledge that I'm sharing with you, they're transferable, so it's powerful. So we need to start with ourselves. We need to start learning. In the past, it's kind of like you do, don't do is fine. But this is a pandemic. It's not an option anymore as far as I am concerned. You have to really take action to learn how to take care of yourself. And because we've been taking too many things for granted now. So it's a wake-up call, take responsibility, and take charge.
All right. Well, that's a good message, right? So for those of you here, take care of yourself, take responsibility, and take charge of your life, right? And we look forward to connecting more with all of you here. Until then, we are all signing off. Myself, Jeffro, and that's Joy. We'll see you very soon. Bye.
Thanks for joining us.